No one expects a wild animal to come looking for humans. Not for food, not out of curiosity, not for shelter. Wild animals survive by avoiding us. That rule has kept them alive for thousands of years. So when that rule is broken, it usually means one thing. Something has gone terribly wrong, especially in the Arctic, a place where mistakes are fatal, where silence can kill, where survival leaves no room for error. And yet, one day, in one of the coldest, most isolated places on Earth, a mother polar bear did the unthinkable. She came to people, not running, not attacking, not begging. She simply arrived and stayed. And in that moment, she challenged everything we believe about nature, instinct, and the invisible line between humans and the wild. Polar bears are not desperate animals. They are symbols of power. They are solitary, self-reliant, perfectly engineered by evolution to dominate ice and ocean. Their bodies are built to endure cold that would kill almost any other mammal. Their instincts are tuned for patience, precision, and endurance. For decades, scientists have studied them from afar, always from a distance, because polar bears don't approach humans. They don't need us. They don't trust us. They avoid us. So when reports emerged of a polar bear standing near a human research station, not charging, not scavenging, not threatening, alarm bells went off immediately. This wasn't curiosity. This wasn't coincidence. This was a warning. To understand why she came, you have to understand the Arctic itself. From a distance, the ice looks eternal, endless white, solid ground, unchanging, a frozen world that feels immune to time. But that image is an illusion. Up close, the Arctic is restless. The ice shifts constantly, cracks without sound, drifts without warning. Massive ice sheets can break apart silently, and by the time anyone notices, it's already too late. For animals that depend on ice, stability is everything. It's where they hunt, where they rest, where they raise their young. And for a pregnant polar bear, stability is not optional. It is survival. She needs energy. She needs time. She needs a safe, unmoving place to give birth. Without those things, the margin between life and death disappears. And somewhere far from that research station, that margin was already gone. When the bear appeared near the station, observers knew instantly that something was wrong. Her movements were slow, measured, heavy. This was not the posture of a hunter. It was the posture of exhaustion. Her body carried the weight of something more than hunger. A kind of strain that only comes from prolonged stress and extreme effort. Later, experts would describe her condition as consistent with severe overexertion, cold exposure, and physical trauma caused by sustained swimming in freezing water. But in that moment, no analysis was needed. One detail said everything. She didn't leave. She stayed, as if she had reached the end of every other option. In wildlife research, intervention is a last resort. Nature is fragile. Human involvement often makes things worse. Intervention can disrupt instincts, change behavior, create dependence. But sometimes doing nothing is not neutrality. Sometimes doing nothing guarantees tragedy. This was one of those moments. The bear was heavily pregnant. Her strength was fading, and time was running out. Helping meant breaking protocol. Not helping meant accepting death. So a decision was made, not out of bravery, not out of confidence, but out of responsibility. What happened next unfolded fast. The bear went into labor, too early, too weak, too far from where she should have been. The first cub entered the world fragile and vulnerable, alive, but barely. The second did not move. In the Arctic, silence is never empty. It presses in. It stretches time. Moments like this feel endless, because in this environment, there are no second chances, no backups, no rescues. Then something extraordinary happened. Despite her exhaustion, despite her failing strength, the mother refused to give up. Her movements were slow, almost mechanical, but they were relentless, as if driven by something deeper than instinct, something older. Minutes passed, and then a change, a small movement, a shallow breath. Life. returning inch by inch. Not because of technology, not because of medicine, but because of persistence, because of connection, because of care. If you're still watching right now, it means this story matters to you. And stories like this don't appear by accident. Subscribe, not for us, but so you don't miss the next one. Because what happens next is just as important. Both cubs were alive, but survival was still far from guaranteed. In the hours that followed, a new danger emerged. The mother was depleted. Without food and water, she would not survive long. And without her, the cubs had no chance at all. Isolation made everything worse. Help was far away. Supplies were limited. Every decision carried risk. Every resource mattered. Once again, someone had to choose. And once again, the choice involved sacrifice. Later, when researchers reconstructed what had led to this moment, the full story finally came into focus. The bear's original habitat was gone. A massive ice platform, once stable, once reliable, had broken away and drifted into open water. Her den disappeared with it. Her shelter vanished. And with it, the safe place she needed to give birth. Faced with an impossible situation, she made one final decision. She swam through freezing ocean, against powerful currents, for miles, a journey many polar bears never survive. She did, barely. This is not just a story about one bear. It is a story about a system under strain. As global temperatures rise, Arctic ice doesn't vanish dramatically. It disappears quietly, slowly, piece by piece, and as it does, animals are forced into behaviors they were never meant to perform. Risks multiply, margins shrink, survival becomes a daily gamble. But this story carries something else too, hope. Because with care, patience, and time, the mother recovered, the cubs grew stronger, and eventually they were moved to a safer region. One with stable ice, access to food, and distance from constant human presence. When the time came, the family returned to the wild. No spectacle, no applause, just life, continuing. Stories like this don't end with easy answers. They end with awareness, because while human activity has shaped many of these challenges, human choices can still shape what comes next. The Arctic is still alive. And as long as compassion, responsibility, and restraint exist, there is still hope. If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Share it, because stories like this change minds, and minds change outcomes. Leave a comment and tell us what you felt. And if you believe these lives matter, stay with us. There are more stories that need to be told.